So in this IBDB portion, we have to learn that whenever we are taking alkenes such as petrol, diesel, methane, um, these these alkenes will be very helpful for us to uh, give out energy to maintain our luxury life, cooking, driving on the buses, going to the flight. But when we combust alkenes, what do we get? We get carbon dioxide plus water. This is very important. Now, if we
Okay.
take incomplete combustion, there's an incomplete combustion also in less oxygen. We give you carbon monoxide plus water. Now, moving to this part, next part is that if you see when we talk about when you talk about the portion of that portion, we have to know that incomplete combustion gives you what? Incomplete combustion gives you carbon monoxide plus water, and carbon monoxide is extremely poisonous. It will be binding with the hemoglobin of the blood and won't allow oxygen to get associated, and the person can die also. So these were the combustion, incomplete combustion, complete combustion, but we are focusing on complete combustion now. In complete combustion, you have to know that it gives you
Yep.
carbon dioxide plus water, and carbon dioxide is a greenhouse gas. It is not lethal. Carbon dioxide is not lethal gas, but it is a greenhouse gas. Greenhouse gases will be increasing the temperature of the earth. Now, what exactly is the greenhouse effect, or what exactly do we mean by this? By the greenhouse effect, we have to know that whenever we are seeing about the greenhouse effect, how does the greenhouse effect come to the picture? 20 kilometers up the atmosphere, if you see, there's a layer of gases which are there. This layer of gases is called as what? This layer of gases is called as the greenhouse gases. Now, next part is that if you see, when we talk about the greenhouse gases, these greenhouse gases will be three. There are three greenhouse gases. One is a methane, one is a carbon dioxide, and one is a water vapor. These are the three greenhouse gases we are having. Now, these greenhouse gases are very important. Why? Because these greenhouse gases will be absorbing the IR radiation, which is reflected back from the Earth's surface. Right? Sun radiates lots of many electromagnetic radiation, but this greenhouse gas will be absorbing the IR radiation and will be heating up the stratosphere. Will heat up the stratosphere,
Yeah.
and will be what? And thus will be seeing that we'll be getting a very good amount of warmth in our Earth. Earth will be a habitable place to stay. If there is no greenhouse gases, if there is no atmosphere, then Earth average temperature will be minus 18 to minus 54 degrees centigrade, and we all will be dying, right, of cold. So greenhouse gases will be making us Earth warmer. Now, next part is that if you move on to this part, that if you see when you talk about when you talk about the when you talk about the greenhouse gases, these greenhouse gases will be is increased due to what? Due to the human activity, right? Methane,
Yep.
carbon dioxide plus water vapor. This is increased due to human activity. What are the human activities we are having? The human activities we are having is that, suppose this methane gas comes from where? Where does methane gas come from? Methane gas will be coming from the cattle farming. We are having this. Carbon dioxide is coming from where? Carbon dioxide is coming from the emission of combustion. Um, your cooking, your bus, your car,
Yep.
all the modes of transport which uses petrol, diesel. So these two are the important contributors. Now, greenhouse gases should be in a balance. They should be in a delicate balance. If any greenhouse gases increases, that will be absorbing IR radiation more and be heating up the Earth atmosphere, leading to what? Leading to global warming. What is the meaning of the word? Because it's global warming. By global warming, there will be incandescent rain. See, you saw what happened in Jamaica just 2 days back. So that is global warming. Unpredictable storm, unpredictable temperature, melting of the ice caps of Arctic, Antarctic, right? Rising of the sea level, unpredictable storm, unpredictable rainfall. So this is very important that whenever we are seeing these greenhouse gases is increasing due to human activities such as carbon dioxide, right? Carbon dioxide mainly obtained from where? Carbon dioxide mainly obtained from the combustion. Now if we are moving to this part, that if you see that when we talk about when you talk about when we talk about the portion of the alternatives, do you have any alternatives to go to? Yes. Now coming to this part, we have to know that if you see that when we talk about when you talk about the terms of energy a fuel actually releases, there are, there is an important definition. We know specific energy. What is the specific energy? Specific energy is the amount of the heat energy released per mass of fuel used, right? Per kg of the fuel used. There's another thing called a specific volume. A specific volume is the amount of the energy released per volume of the fuel used. What is
Okay.
specific energy? Specific energy is the amount of the heat energy released per mass of the fuel, right? In kilograms. So if you see, when we talk about when we talk about the alternative fuels, the most best alternative fuel is what? The best alternative fuel is the biofuels. What are biofuels? This is very important. Biofuels are those fuels which we obtain from plants. Hmm. Not directly from plants. We have to do fermentation of plants, right? We take plant sources, we do fermentation of this. So biofuels are will be renewable, right? Isn't it? We
Yeah.
can grow plants. We can grow plants, and the plants will be giving will be converted to biofuels, and we cut the plants and we again grow plants. So it is renewable source of energy. But when we use fossil fuels such as petrol, diesel, these are non-renewable sources of energy, right? They're non-renewable sources of energy. So this is very important that whenever we are seeing, if you see that when we if you're seeing that in any sort of fuels, biofuels is mixed. Suppose in petrol which you are using, 30% ethanol is blended always, right? Because that will be saving us from the petrol resources which we can use for the future generation. So this is very important, that if you see about the biofuels are very important. Now we have to know that in this part we know that if you see that whenever we are talking about, whenever we are to talk about the plants do what? The plant will be taking carbon dioxide plus water, and it will be giving you glucose plus oxygen, right? This is
Yeah.
a very important point we have to master, right? Carbon dioxide plus H2 gives you the glucose plus O2. Now, moving to this part, we have to know that if we see that this glucose, which is in the plants, this can be fermented. Is it clear? Where do you get the glucose? Glucose is sourced by photosynthesis. Now, this, please stop me if you don't understand anywhere. This
Okay.
glucose does what? This glucose will be used to ferment it. We do fermentation. Fermentation is a wine making industry which does, right? The wine making industry is fermentation process. So we
Yeah.
take the glucose, and from this glucose, what we do, we any plant source you can take, any plant source. Means you can now the technology has so much advanced that any plant source can be used. So glucose will be giving us what? Glucose will be giving us the ethanol plus carbon dioxide. Now over here we have to know that when we talk about this portion, right? Any plant source will be giving you thus, but we have to know that this ethanol will be 15% yield, right? When you take ethanol will be 15% of the yield. Suppose you have taken 100 grams of the glucose, how much ethanol we are getting? 15 grams,
Okay.
isn't it? So we have to use, we are seeing the very less amount of yield is obtained, but still it's okay. So that's the reason we have to see that we have to grow large amount of plants, right? We have to grow large amount of plants, and that will be helping us in what? That will be helping us to give the ethanol. Is it clear? So we
Yeah.
are forced, because of the percentage yield, we have to force to grow huge amount of plants, because the percentage yield is less for the ethanol in this fermentation reaction. So we have to grow more plants, isn't it? When we grow more plants, tell me, how does it help? It will be absorbing carbon dioxide more. Do you get my point?
Yeah.
How does biofuels helps indirectly also? The biofuels helps indirectly also. That we have to grow more amount of plants, and we have cut the plants and use it for fermentation. So greater absorption, right? Greater absorption. So this is very important, that the carbon dioxide is emitted in this reaction also can be also seen as a perspective, that we have to grow forced to grow greater amount of plants that will be absorbing the carbon dioxide which we are using, which is emitted by this fermentation. Second, whenever this biofuel is used in the cars, buses, Brazil is a country which uses ethanol 100%. They are using 100% ethanol, right? Just remember this in part, right? And there's a two-pronged effect. See, there are many people in this world who sleep hungry, right? Who don't have that money to buy the food also. So there's a
Yeah.
debate which is going on, that shall we grow the plants, the crop plants, to convert it to ethanol to drive our luxury. Means car is luxury, isn't it? So that's
Yeah.
very important part we to know. So this is very important, that we are diverting food products to form biofuels, right? This is a disadvantage, right? We are using agricultural land to actually produce this ethanol, and ethanol is used to as luxury, right? Driving of cars, buses, or aircrafts, right? So this is very important. That second thing is that we that that if the biofuel will be increasing, what happens? We have to deforest also to use the plants. Secondly, this fermentation process will be using a fractional distillation, which is there, and the fractional distillation will be using energy. But you have to learn that the advantages will be weighing heavily, will be much more than the disadvantage with that. What are the advantages? Biofuels, you can take it as a renewable source of energy, right? This will be reduced greenhouse emissions because we have to grow lots of plants. Of the percentage is not there given in this book. So this is very important that if you see the biofuels will be very important for us to know that they will be a sustainable resource, right? We can use a wide range of plant material and waste plants also, right? Isn't it wow? So and finally you have to see that in what when petrol prices, when crude oil prices rises up, what happens to the what happens to the particular all the economy? Please tell me. When the crude oil price jumps, what happens to the economies? The inflation increases, right? Isn't it? So all countries are broadly dependent upon a handful of countries which produces crude oil. Is it clear? To their mercy, the whole global economy is connected. So if we can use biofuels, right? So economic security will be there and reduced dependence on imported oil supplies. Is it clear? This is a very important question, right? Understood? This is a very important part. So this case for advantage will be outweighing the disadvantages. So this was all about the biofuels chapter of the R1 we are having, right? Reactivity one. So if you see that this chapter, if you see, this is R 1.3.3 and R 1.3.1 and 1.3.2. Do you get my point over here? So it's a very, very important point. We have to know that the biofuels are very important for our financial security, for our environment, and actually overall what that the overall this will be helping us to keep the oil reserves for the future generation. That's a sustainable part. So so this is a very important topic on IBD.